right, hello you lovelies and welcome to KoiCast. I am Koi Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. And if you're new to the show, we give you a lot of pop culture news one week, and then the next week we give you lots of hotline calls where you are effectively the co-host yourself. And this here is a news week, and what a strange news week it is, because about 10 days ago, about a week and a half ago, when we were on a bye week, on a hotline week, DC exploded. And well, I've been sitting on that for a little bit going, wonder what Jake and I are going to address this with, because you see,
they are known for a more cosmic brand.
They're certainly out there. They're certainly in space. I am very hopeful that this restructuring, because of me, I'm a hopeful person. I'm very hopeful that this restructuring can go well, and I know Jake Lloyd Bacon, noted Snyder fan, is probably elated that things are going to be resetting, and I think it's going to be really interesting. So I wanted to talk to Jake because he's a comic fan.
I'm not elated. I don't just because I'm not a huge DC live action fan. Yeah, I mean, this is bad for business.
It's bad for all studios.
Yes.
What I'm hearing is not only is it bad for Warner Brothers DC, obviously, but it's also causing ripples into other streamers going like, hey, wait, are you telling me that when the pandemic happened, we decided to put everything on streaming for effectively free because 6 families sharing a $5 a month password is not cost effective to having a movie release? It's so weird how I've been lobbying for the exhibition industry, and it's almost like movies need to, make the money they cost. So here we are, having the fallout of the streaming wars happen about 5 years earlier than I think it would have if the pandemic hadn't happened.
Right.
I think on a long enough timeline, you're always going to find out, well, hey, maybe subscription-based models don't work for fucking $200 million movies.
Right. They are good for TV series.
And they're good for the second wave
that
of your
are
film.
Exclusive. Yes, of course.
They're great to re-up your money, not to make your money back.
Absolutely.
So here we are, basically canning films for tax write-offs.
Yeah,
this is insane.
Can we do? I'm going to try to be. I'm going to put on my journalistic hat here. There are times on this program where we take for granted that the people listening know
are not as deep in the industry.
No, that they know what's happening.
Oh, fair.
Can we talk a little bit about exactly what's happening?
Discovery,
because I'm still confused.
I got you.
All I know is that boys like HBO and girls like Discovery. That's all I learned.
No crossover.
That's all I learned from the infographic.
Keep them separated, you guys. You got to. Guys like scripted, girls like unscripted. Guys are from Mars. So, okay. Basically, Discover acquired Warner Brothers a few years back in a giant acquisition. Discover inherited a giant loss because WB has been hemorrhaging money. That was only exacerbated by
and
last
by the
2
way,
years.
We don't necessarily have hard evidence that it's all the Snyder Cut's fault.
But we do have evidence.
I'm going to say yes.
We do have evidence that bots drove the Snyder Cut to exist, and we can say that with facts.
All I'm saying is that if maybe they
didn't throw $100 million,
maybe if they had spent all that second wave money to have him finish a movie that nobody really needed in the first place, and instead developed like 3 new original properties that were television shows that could continue,
or even like just really so it didn't help. WB has been having issues, and that's why they were acquired by Discovery. Discovery now is known for their unscripted content. Your Guy Fieri's, your many cooking shows, your
house flippings,
your home design network. So the issue now becomes they're acquiring a network known for scripted, for art, and this is a network known for to be a little bit denigrating of reality TV. One thing is known for content, and one thing is known for art. Jake and Jake had to reprogram me when I came in here.
You're still
I'm way better.
No, you're way better, but you still. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You're still so ingrained that we as a society have completely and totally separated like artistic experiences
from content,
from entertainment.
Right.
From like all entertainment is now content, and it's like, no, that's not with all due respect, and you will admit this because I have a content creator here.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a creator here with you.
Right.
What you do on TikTok talking about Marvel shows isn't the same as the Marvel shows.
100%.
And for some reason, we've forgotten that as a society.
And it's a very important distinction.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, when you mentioned it way back, I was like, oh. And, like, the issue is every other format is encouraging that dialogue. And now we've got a literal overhaul,
Right.
where my concern is that line in the sand is not going to be clear at this new Discovery Plus streamer.
Right.
HBO Max, and it's funny because we talk about it before all this as the best streamer.
King streamer.
The best. It's blockbuster, but it's also got new content.
The only, when it comes to user interface, aces, every now and then, and it hasn't even happened in a long time, every now and then it was a crash. It was a big crasher.
Very rare.
But
Now,
but honestly, like compared to the countless other streamers that there are, I guess one could say Netflix was the overall king, but Netflix became very, very flooded with a bunch of crap you have no interest in seeing. And that's, by the way, that's a good thing. That's variety.
right.
It's sure as hell a lot better than Amazon, which is impossible to scroll through. Prime
Has tons of stuff, hard to navigate.
it's hard to navigate. So like there are tiers to this, but
Sure.
HBO
Very good at both.
Consistency, did a good job of balancing variety
And
versus
new
interface.
IPs.
Yeah.
Like a Harley Quinn show is, I maintain, the best thing DC's done in a long time.
Well,
And the new
you have
season's fantastic.
Watchmen TV show has been. So, I mean, for Christ's sakes, this is the network that Game of Thrones is.
Yeah,
is
Westworld.
on. Westworld, like
It's
all
a
these
big-
huge. Yeah,
And you still have the 90s, 80s, 70s. Like, so
Right.
my concern now is they've unceremoniously started gutting it. So Discovery made a big announcement, and it started with Batgirl. That was the big thing, and poor Scoop. But it started with Batgirl. Basically, the movie Batgirl was a $90 million movie.
it was mostly shot already.
It was almost done. It was
Right.
shot, and I think they were deep into post. I think they were just short of like, there's always that scheduled 2 weeks of additional photography or whatever. I think
contingency
that
shoots.
might have been the thing that was left. It was done. And the movie is $90 million. It was, you remember, first supposed to be an HBO Max original when they were trying to make that build up the network. Then it got moved to theatrical. And I think that move to theatrical was them starting to realize, oh, no, we cannot make money off of, this isn't $90 million. We're not going to make that back on the streamer.
No.
So the problem is when you acquire another company, you can write things down like art as a loss.
Of course.
So instead of putting another $90 million into promoting it, into releasing it, the things that it's not free to release a movie. It's not free to advertise a movie. It usually is, we talk about all the time, about the same cost of the movie to get the movie actually out there. So they had already spent 90, instead of losing in their eyes another 90 to gamble at a $200 million theatrical, they were able to quote unquote profit $20 million by this never seeing the light of day.
Yep.
So everyone that's like, it'll come out one day on HBO Max. If it does, they'll lose all that money.
Right.
It can't leak on YouTube or that.
Right.
Basically, when you put a song on YouTube, it gets taken down in 30 seconds. That's going to be this movie.
Right.
It won't likely see the light of day because this is them profiting off of people not getting to share their art.
It's the
most capitalistic shit I've ever heard.
It really is, but it's also, and you've been seeing it on Twitter and social media recently. It's a lot like the plot to The Producers, but unintentionally.
I didn't see it. That's great.
So the joke was like, this is the Max in the HBO Max, and it's a picture of Max Bialystock from The Producers.
It's so perfect and sad. So that's the negative.
Yeah, we can make more money with a flop than a hit. But in this instance, we can make more money by not releasing
releasing the thing at all and saying it's a flop, whether or not that's true. And that's been my issue, is them being like, oh, the ratings from the test audiences, Black Adams, I hear, are the exact same. I don't know what that number is. I cannot tell you. But it's not the reason. The reason is they're making money by not releasing it. Now, my issue is a myriad of things. And this is all the negative. We're getting to the positive, because there is a positive. The negative is this directing duo. I know Jake didn't enjoy it as much, but I really enjoyed Miss Marvel. And it's really bad optics for the first Latino woman and the first Muslim duo, and a movie that already had the good graces of Brendan Fraser's comeback and Michael Keaton. Like, this is a bad movie to shelve for a myriad of reasons. But it also emboldens a lot of shitty people. So I'm upset about who is getting the nya. And it is basically the beginning of, I think, a cascading issue where you look at American Pickle was just taken off HBO Max.
I was just about to bring up American Pickle.
That's a movie that was made for this, and that they can now take it, and I loved.
And it was exactly the sort of thing that these streamers should be doing.
And now we can't watch that because that movie's not available on tangible media. That movie's not anywhere. That was an HBO Max movie. So it's going to be to a point where unless you bootleg these movies, there's no way to own them or have them, and they can just go away. So it's an interesting time for art in that sense. That's all the negative. The positive is they are looking now, and I do believe they've said every 5 years they're going to have a 10-year plan. I think this is a big enough thing. They're literally unplugging it and plugging back in. They have to now. There is no other option than for them to start over. I think we're going to get Shazam and Black Adam are going to come out, and then maybe you get one crossover between the two of them. And then I think you get Aquaman out. What's interesting is that it might move. And I think you do get Flash, which is a hell of a line in the sand to draw between those two movies, Batgirl and Flash coming out. Granted, Batgirl was 90 million, Flash is upwards of 200.
Yeah.
But that also means you're going to be having Ezra Miller out on stage promoting a film.
I mean, I don't think you are going to have him on stage promoting. I think everybody.
Just gonna be,
I think everybody but Ezra is going to be promoting that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're not stupid. And when I say they, I don't mean Ezra Miller. I mean HBO. Or whatever. Is not stupid to allow them, Ezra Miller, to actually go out and promote something. Also, I do know that I just said Ezra Miller.
You did. I let that New York happen. I was proud of it.
Oh
Ezra
my gosh.
Miller. He's out there on the streets.
It was.
They're out there on the streets.
Oh boy, it was like being in Levittown.
Yeah, I was proud of you.
That was rough.
Let it get the bagel out there.
That was real rough.
So Ezra Miller is consistently making headlines for all the wrong reasons. WB is now making headlines for all the wrong reasons. It's going to be very tricky when those two things combine. So I think that plus this very public loss means this reboot will actually happen. And I think they will have to make a 10-year plan. Now, therein lies the trickiness. I personally would end everything with a crisis event. I would invest in making something that would end a storyline because there is comic probability. There is a way to do this. And if that's ending Aquaman, setting up one final movie, if that is giving them the Avengers movie that's going to be at cost, but because then you can end it with the rebooted new characters.
But what's already in the works? Because they're not going to. The whole point of this is we're not going to be making another new thing. We're not spending any money on this anymore. So it has to be something that's already in development,
right?
That they can spin halfway, which by the way is going to make it bad. We've seen time and time again how halfway through a movie they went, well, we have to do a different kind of movie.
And that's why I'm worried about Blue Beetle, because Blue Beetle's into production, and I really hope that one survives.
I'm worried about everything at this point, and Shazam. The first Shazam is one of my favorite superhero movies in the
Luckily, Shazam's done, but I hear it might go straight to streaming.
And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm just worried about I have such little optimism about.
I think the best case scenario is have Black Adam come out this year to have their fourth quarter be one thing, and then move Shazam to quarter one. And that way you've at least got two movies. I don't want to see that on streaming. I want that to get theatrical. That way at least you got the pop of them making some money in different quarters. I think that'd be smart.
I get it.
Having them a month apart is not good if you've got nothing else on the docket for a bit. Then have Aquaman be your summer thing. Like, there is stuff they can do on the road to fixing all this. And then you need to have a big announcement. You need to have your own fandom that basically announces the new Justice League. You need to announce big with your new Wonder Woman, your new Batman, your new Superman. I mean, I don't think we're going to get a Wonder Woman 3. I don't see Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that.
I always thought it was Gadot.
Yeah, it looks like Gadot. Like waiting for Gadot. But I got to correct it a lot.
Oh, really? People have corrected
I think it's Gadot. But I don't know if those people are right. I've never heard from her.
Got it.
Gal, call me.
It's pronounced Gall.
It's actually Gall.
Gall got it.
Got it. Wow, that is a 90s supervillain name. Gall got it. So it's weird. Nothing like this has ever happened. This is an unprecedented studio thing. We were here for the Disney, Marvel, Pixar thing, but that was all not positive in the state of monopoly, but that was all things getting made more, not less. This is crazy.
I mean, there is something to it that is that feels our creative post-apocalypse that feels like, do you know what I mean? Like it's the every satire about two companies owning everything that came out in the 90s.
It's happening. One of them's doing well and one of them's not. And
it's literally gotten to the point now where at some point we're just going to be like, so everything Disney, why isn't Disney just buying this?
I literally made the joke.
Does Discovery, right? Or like at some point does Discovery go, yeah, you know what, we're gonna sell to Disney, and because it's got to the point where now and I've talked about this with you, about the way franchises, the hype has become too big to maintain.
Sure.
We've created a monster in summer blockbusters that is no longer the way. A summer blockbuster used to be a trailer that you saw 2 weeks before a movie came out, and you saw a guy on the Tonight Show talking about it, or a girl on the Tonight Show talking about it.
4 months out, but that was literally cryptic.
I'm talking, exactly. And I'm talking 70s to 90s blockbusters, 100%. Right? Streaming services and the hype machine of the internet have made it, I honestly think, to where it is a lose-lose situation, because every company is going to look at the numbers that a Marvel franchise trailer gets,
right?
Where they're making money off of the YouTube trailer.
I think some YouTube videos make more money than some of these indie movies.
And that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no,
and we've got to a point now where companies are going to see that and they're going to say, well, we need that in order to succeed.
And that's how it becomes content.
Instead of, well, why don't we take what we would spend on one of those?
Right.
And
I'm not saying a trailer is not art, by the way. I'm saying the way it's perceived.
No, yeah. And well, exactly. But even what I'm trying to get at is like the hype machine has become the movie industry, not the amount of tickets sold, or even, God forbid, whether it's good.
So
you know what I mean?
Actually,
like a response.
I have box office news that does give me hope. A lot of this year's biggest box office wins are originals.
And I think that...
And that's balancing it out. Bullet Train doing 30.1 doesn't sound great, and it's not great because of the production budget.
Right.
But it doing well and being an original gives us hope for the movie star selling the movie.
It's an IP. It's a remake. It's not entirely...
It's based on a book. It's not a remake.
Okay, so then it's a remake of the first time the movie was based on a book. It was a Japanese
but I'm saying
Bullet Train.
It's not a franchise. It's a new IP, movies.
No, there was a Japanese version of this.
It's Train to Busan?
No, it was called Bullet Train.
I just read it was based on a book and it's the original movie. Literally, it's being billed as it's being celebrated.
Maybe this is one of those instances where there's another movie called Bullet Train that looks and sounds just like this. That I thought this was a remake of the Japanese movie Bullet Train.
One of us.
Regardless,
either way, it's a new IP to American audiences.
Sure, I'll take that.
Not a franchise.
Yes, I'll take that.
And that with Black Phone, that with a lot of the things this year.
Yeah.
That's what people are looking at as far as analysts, and that gives me hope that studios are going like, okay, there will be a fatigue moment. There will be a bubble if we're not already in it.
But I guess this is, I don't know that I ever got to the end of my point. The point that I'm making is about the hype machine and how if they would start putting money into the production of a movie, release said movie, trust that it will in time alter the way we go see movies.
Right.
In time, it will alter the way we go see. The problem is that they make a movie and then they have to spend twice as much money to feed the hype machine of the internet.
Right.
Which, by the way, how many of those people are even paying for these services? Like, that was one thing I will say when everybody was up in arms about HBO Max. The only thing I could think of, and I looked at Alexandra and I was like, how many people on Twitter do you think pay for HBO Max right now?
7.
Like, because to be honest with you, we don't pay for it, not because we wouldn't,
bundle.
but because it comes with with our cell phones.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, because we have AT&T and now AT&T no longer owns it, I'm wondering if that's even going to be.
Lasts.
How
long? It
long?
might be the end of the contract. It might be like your situation is when that is up.
And even that, by the way, did you hear what I just said? You know how AT&T it's just literally 30 Rock, where he's like, we sell microwave ovens and also make this television show.
Christ.
So we need to start. Honestly, I just think that hype machine, and I know that you're part of it. I'm sorry, you make it, but but like
I try to add some integrity.
You do, and but I feel like that has become the modern day blockbuster movie industry, and not like what used to be. Well, how much did the movie cost? How much?
And to be honest, what's hard, and I actually tweeted about this yesterday, was there was a rumor or there was a statement from Rosario Dawson about Punisher being back. And it was at C2E2. And she literally was like, and just yesterday I heard John Bernthal was back as Punisher. I really hope to work with him. But since it's her saying that, it became fact. And like, why wouldn't people take that as fact, right? Because it's an actress in the show mentioning another actor saying they want to work with him. And now this is one of two things. She then immediately followed up saying, I heard that from a fan. I don't know if that's true, blah, blah, blah. One, either Kevin Feige called and said, we didn't announce that yet. Or two, she did hear that from a fan, took it as truth, and then said it on a big stage.
Yep.
The issue now becomes, I didn't report on that because I didn't get a second source.
Sure.
Right? I don't say it's fact on my page. For the most part, I try to wait for a second source. The issue now is I didn't get all those new follows by saying this thing. It was trending and I refused to do that. So I'm being penalized for exactly what you said, because I'm trying to have that last shred of integrity for this thing.
Right.
And I'm the one trying to say, like, these are the comics you should read. That gets 1/10 of the audience.
Of course.
Than just yelling, like throwing my hands in the air and pointing at text. Like if I do pointing at text of the tweets I write, I could have a lot more TikTok followers.
That's a whole other problem.
But that's what I'm saying is those people, that's the hype industry versus what I'm trying to do is lean into the hype while also having that have merit in the art.
Right.
So I'm trying to bridge art and hype.
And
what the issue is, DC, my concern is Discovery is not going to care about the me's of it.
No,
they're going to care about the points of it.
Well, and honestly, I think now I feel like we might be in therapy and we're maybe bringing breakthroughs. I also think Marvel doesn't care about the use of it, and a lot of these, and none of them do. That's what I'm getting at. we need them to start caring about that part of this.
Because I would have a different job if like
Right.
I get tagged all the time like Marvel and DC Shire you. I'm like,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They
Yeah,
don't.
yeah.
I'm here.
Right.
And
yeah.
no disrespect to us.
No.
We're not.
No. And
I'm not eating lobster.
but it's also a matter of, like you said, it's like it's going to go to whatever the fad is, whatever is succeeding number wise.
And long term, maybe it'll shift.
And so my hope is that eventually studios will have to stop looking at web engagement
Right.
to base how much to spend on a movie
And look at engagement.
and look at engagement of movies.
And that's what gives me hope about things like Top Gun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's funny
sure.
because all my news is like kind of bleeding into each other. Top Gun just passed Titanic.
Right.
It is now the
Wow.
7th highest domestic film of all time.
Wow.
It passed Titanic domestically.
Yeah.
That is a good movie, and that is a movie that is getting all audiences. That is a movie, yes, it's franchise, but it's a sequel. It's not a 7th. And it's hitting every demographic by ticket number sales. It had some hype. It was excited, but
Right.
it wasn't. I didn't expect this.
Right.
And this to me gives me hope now that it's at 1.3 approaching 1.4 billion dollars. This gives me hope mid-budget films and blockbusters like OG blockbusters can come back. Because yes, it's a sequel, but this is not a franchise film. So I think with that plus Bullet Train plus Black Phone plus all these other things.
I gotta say though, real quickly, tough day for boats.
Tough day for boats.
I mean, you got planes and trains.
Just,
it's bad enough that
when are the
one
automobiles
movie.
coming
It's
in?
bad enough that like the one movie that really put you on the map is about one of you sinking,
That's true. That's true.
and now you don't even have that anymore.
Bad day for boats.
Tough day for boats.
And Fast 10 getting delayed. The automobiles and the boat industry,
yeah.
they're struggling in the transpo
It's
game.
all about trains and planes. If you don't rhyme, we're not interested.
Sorry, you're out. Those automobiles, we need John Candy for them. Now let's go to the other side of the franchise. It was a weird week for DC being on fire, but again, I do think this fire sale is going to yield some space in the house that is going to be filled with great art.
And so let's talk about this though, because I don't think we ever got to it. Is HBO Max folding completely
so.
into Discovery Plus?
I think so. And that
So
sucks.
we are no longer going to have an app called HBO Max.
Long term, I don't see it lasting more than a year.
So it's going to end up being a part of the already existing app, Discovery Plus.
And we're going to
So
lose a lot of stuff.
This is, and the only thing I know a lot of wrestling nerds already have this understanding, but most people who aren't haven't experienced already. We've been here before.
Mm.
The WWE Network, which never gets credit, by the
rave
way,
about.
for being like,
is
for
Jake's big
starting
thing.
the streaming game. Like before, every network was like, why don't we just have a streamer and just put all the shit that we own on that streamer?
Yeah.
WWE was like, well, fuck it. We have a giant library.
Yeah.
Let's charge people to watch this library. Well, it only worked out so long for them before a giant conglomerate came along and said, how about all this money for your library?
Yeah.
A couple years ago now, maybe 2 years. God, I don't even know how long ago it was. To quote my Pro Wrestling Palski's co-host, Scott Narber, time is a fat circle. They got folded and bought by NBC Universal.
Yeah.
So the WWE Network now no longer exists in the States. So the WWE Network is on Peacock. So when we want to watch stuff for watch-alongs, or if you want to watch the latest pay-per-view, the live streaming, same day, like live television
The
streaming.
live streams on Peacock?
Everything is on Peacock.
No and do you have to pay more for the pay-per-view on Peacock?
No.
So there's no $100
It ended up
wrestling.
actually being the same. Like technically, you got more for less now because the WWE Network was always $9.99 a month.
Yeah.
Peacock, you can get the free version for $4.99 a month.
So it's not like UFC where it's like you have a UFC
No,
app
there's no.
and it's $50
It's not.
or whatever.
That's why they actually no longer call them pay-per-views. They call them premium live events.
Got it.
Because technically,
You're not paying per view.
Nobody is paying per view.
Whereas
anymore.
UFC is still
Right.
pay-per-view, even though it's got a network.
But with that, so let me say this:
Interesting.
the WWE Network was rough at first, but oh my god, it got fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know wrestling is a different beast from movies, but there is some crossover. You were at one point able to search like a talent's name, search like a wrestler's name.
Yeah.
And it will just like on the WWE Network, and it will just bring up every single
sick.
show that they were ever a part of, matches. You can find like you jump to events where it's like, oh, jump to this specific match, jump to this specific match. You can look up a specific title or a specific match type. It was so ingrained. All of those old pay-per-views from 10, 20 years ago all had chapter marks in them.
This is how Jake modeled the Patron Only Pod, by the
So
way.
like you can jump to a specific chapter in an episode and watch just the thing you're there to watch. When everything got picked up and brought over to Peacock, not only did all those chapter marks disappear, but parts of the catalog weren't there. Now
Licensing issues.
Now they're it seems to me like they've caught up. That however long ago this was, a year, 2 years ago, like it seems like when they first merged it, there was like a ton of stuff that wasn't there. But they said, oh, we're slowly rolling out, adding stuff to it as it goes on. But different standards and practices for NBC Universal than World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah.
So there are some problematic yet iconic things in wrestling history that you will now never see because they exist unless you have like DVDs or something like that.
Yeah.
They exist
By physical
solely.
media.
Yep. They exist solely on because those things exist solely streaming on NBC Universal Peacock.
By Dogma.
But they have been like, nope, we're not going to show this because it's, and by the way, these are all things that like we as a society have understood are not good. People in blackface and things that are, you know, sexist and you know, just awful, you know, wrestling from the 90s, wrestling from the 90s.
We've gotten better.
But it is that whole thing of like, you know, allowing us as viewers to understand what we're watching as something old, putting the thing in front like Disney did, like this is being presented in its original format. You know,
it was of the time.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've been wrestling nerds have been through this before.
Yeah.
So
Didn't go well.
My guess is that we're going to get stuck with a interface that sucks.
Yeah.
That's not as good as it was. We already know we're not getting the whole catalog
because we're already losing it.
Because we're already losing it in the app to begin with.
Yeah, I'm watching Harley Quinn as quick as I can.
And yeah, I haven't started the new season yet, but
I'm 4 in. I'm like, I gotta watch it. I don't know what's gonna happen, and that sucks. I hate it. No, like it's bad enough when you're expecting things to expire because of the end of the month, but like when you're expecting it to expire forever.
Yeah.
Like when I'm actually afraid of losing the content.
Like, yeah, where is this actually going to live outside of?
And I don't want I don't want to support. I have nothing against reality TV in the macro. I don't want to support the degradation of the art versus the content by supporting Discovery Plus, which is going to be 70% that stuff.
Right.
Because people rewatch Desperate Housewives and whatever, the Home Makeover, whatever those on the network. I don't even know. They watch that on repeat and it does so much better than art.
Well, does it?
Oh, The Bachelor's got pay ratings than like.
Okay, but here's my question. It does live.
But does it have it? People have it in the background.
See, and I was always understanding that they do when it's on the live television. They'll put on HGTV.
Yeah.
Well, and they'll leave that on all day.
People rewatch it constantly because they talk about moments. Oh, like it's huge. The Discovery.
I didn't think there was big rewatchability for shows.
Discovery
like
has the money to buy Warner Brothers because of that.
Well, also because those shows don't cost anything to make.
So it's all profit. And so it's a really interesting. We're gonna look back on this as like this is a big shift.
Yeah. And God, this is the before times.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy art.
It is really frustrating, and all I hope is that maybe there's some semblance of listening, because it's clearly been like there are people who I know who don't tweet about anything entertainment related who have been like, hey, don't fuck with my HBO Max.
Yeah, good.
like I'm hoping that there's some semblance of them being
like,
to
be wrong about this one. I would love if that still exists.
Or if it's just simply that like, oh, we're taking into consideration what we're hearing, and yeah, we're still going to fold HBO Max into Discovery Plus, because by the way, I don't care. Like the reality is I don't care if you do that, as long as everything is there. Like just like the W Network, I like that I have one less app to have on my TV. The difference was in that instance I had Peacock already because I wanted to watch AP Bio and the Office Superfan episodes. There were things that were exclusives to that where I went, I'm going to have that anyway.
Yeah.
This is something I have no interest in Discovery Plus, so it's not like I have that already.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's not the big. It's just a different button you're clicking to get to the thing. The question is it going to operate the same way, and are we going to have access to the same things?
Yeah.
That's the reality.
And things like the Penguin Show, which is a very, bold thing to do. I hope they continue it.
I like colloquially the Penguin Show.
The Penguin Show. Colin Farrell's the Penguin Show.
It could be anything.
It could be literally. Yeah,
no, we're not talking about National Geographic.
No,
we're talking about
George Miller's sequel to Penguins 2, The Penguin Show.
The Penguin Show.
But like things like that that's a bold thing that HBO Max was going to do. I hope things like that continue. Luckily, Batman's the most profitable thing in DC, so I imagine if anything's going to survive, it's that. And
I mean, Batgirl did it.
That's true.
And by the way,
Michael
Keaton as Batman was in that.
Yeah.
So like,
and Peacemaker did well, but is it what they want their brand to be?
He said so.
As of yesterday, James Gunn said it's still good.
James Gunn, and I had to pause and say I had to play the pronoun game because it does not matter how much of a fan I am. Whenever I say James Gunn, I will always doubt in my brain that I'm not talking about Tim Gunn.
Oh, of course. Who was probably on Discovery Network.
Not probably on Discovery Network. They couldn't be. By the way, I don't even confuse him with his brother.
Sean Gunn. Tim Gunn.
I always think to myself, Guardians of the Galaxy by Tim Gunn.
Yeah, the fashionista director of
Guardians
of the Galaxy.
In fairness, he took a really terrible comic book and made it work.
That's true.
He made it work.
So
that's for all you reality TV show fans out there.
Tim Gunn's crossover with Guardians coming
anyways,
soon to Discovery.
Yes, he did say that Peacemaker 2 was safe.
Yeah.
But he also might, in his brain, go, I'm going to make sure it ends in a way that if we don't...
Season 2 might be it.
That, like, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary out there. So,
scary out there.
And the art, guys, it's art. I keep making art. Keep supporting art. That said, on the other side of art, the Marvel side, going from DC to Marvel, 3 things while DC's fire sale was happening were announced in weird ways. And we're not talking about the Punisher. Well, that's the third one. The Punisher thing I already talked about. But the other 2, Eternals 2 was on, I think, Good Morning America. Patton Oswalt was talking. And he just casually was like, and I'm really excited to see more of Star Fox and Eros. Star Fox is Eros. Pip the Troll and Star Fox. Yes. Chloe Zhao's coming back. We're doing Eternals 2. And everyone was like, duh. And like, Patton Oswalt is a way...
No, he's savvy.
Yeah.
He's real savvy.
That happened the day before Mohammed Diab and Oscar Isaac were wandering around Cairo, Egypt, and someone on a TikTok, some random TikToker, was filming and was like, so the real question is, are we getting a Moon Knight season 2? And she turned her phone. Mohammed Diab like shrugged like dismissively. Right. And then from out of the left side of frame, Oscar Isaac popped in and goes, well, why else would we be in Cairo? Also, 2 very savvy gentlemen, and like a random TikToker is not going to get that kind of scoop. So the 48 hours of it all is skeptical.
Okay, wait. Yeah. So this sounds to me like a conspiracy.
Yes.
There's some shady shit going on.
The fact that within 48 hours, 2 sets worldwide of different, very savvy people. Oscar Isaac doesn't have to say anything.
I think the Earth might be flat.
Guys, the Illuminati's real.
I think.
And they're on TikTok.
Oscar
Isaac doesn't, like, he would not slip, like, he literally jumped into the TikTok. And Patton Oswalt is one of the king geeks. Like, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't slip like that. No. And then Rosario Dawson, like 3 days later being like, I was hearing a fan. What's going on pre-D23? Are they testing what gets the most hype to how they're going to announce it? I feel like we're all beta testing Kevin Feige's announcement rollout. I feel like Kevin Feige's watching Twitter engagement after these things leak under his control. And then he's like, okay, what's going to do well? And then they're going to announce it at D23.
I mean, here's the thing, is that's fun. I like it.
It's my theory.
It's fun. It's a fun theory that I enjoy, and I choose to believe it.
Same.
It is a thing that
doesn't seem real.
That is fact to me now.
There it is.
But he doesn't need to. If this was happening by people within DC, then I would be like,
so sad.
I would like, get yours. You know what I mean?
Like the Aquaman thing. I think that was
maybe.
I mean, when Ben Affleck got seen on the Warner Brothers lot, I'm like, there's no better control than the lot. Like, Warner Brothers, they should have control of their own lot. Like, that's where you film stuff in secret. So that one to me felt like they should have just said that at DC at the Hall H panel. But at the same time, I like that they kept it to Black Adam and Shazam. I think that they just got ripped apart so much. They were like, we need good press. Ben Affleck's here. So it's really interesting how things are coming around, and it ties into your hype machine issue. Right. So we'll see. Again, I'm excited that we're getting any of this stuff. I'm excited we're getting all of this stuff. You guys know I just want more. I know that's also part of the problem, but I
want more, but I want it slower.
Sure.
Like, I like that. Listen, there is such a wellspring of fandom to mine.
70 years of comics.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think the problem is we dipped our toe in it for a couple decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marvel got it right.
Yeah.
And everybody could listen. You can call me the Marvel fanboy, the Marvel shill, all you want.
Don't worry.
They got it right.
Yeah.
They figured it out. And even though some people might argue, phase 1 wasn't that good, whatever, that's fine. Feel that way. But like, they cracked the code. And now, unfortunately, the floodgates have opened.
Right.
And instead of being like, well, we're only 10 years into this. This hasn't been happening for 30 years.
Sure.
It can all end very abruptly.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about oversaturation on this show. And I feel like the smartest thing that Marvel has done, I feel like recently, is making things feel like they're different.
Agreed.
Is being like, hey, you don't need to watch this all. And by the way, this one feels, horror-y or whatever. Yeah. And this one is more kids. And like, again, I wasn't a fan of Ms. Marvel. I understand people saying like, it was meant for kids. It was meant for kids. Yeah, Eternals is super
felt nothing
weird.
Like anything else.
It doesn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt like a weird sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
That it felt like a swing. It felt like, and that's the sort of shit that I think that is going to keep this afloat. And unfortunately, up until this point, DC hasn't done that. DC's had
I feel like DC's got like recently some big wins, and that's what makes this so hard for me. I know you didn't love it as much as I did, but you liked the Batman. I loved the Batman.
Yeah, no, the Batman was to me. The Batman to me felt like. Was it Spider-Man? What was the movie that they made because they didn't want to lose? Was it Fantastic Four?
Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. It felt like Amazing Spider-Man. It felt like well, we need to make something.
See, I felt like
even though there wasn't like a legal story behind it, it felt to me like, hey, we have this thing, let's use it. It's great. People like it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I didn't think we didn't need it, but I'm glad we have it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the problem.
So I feel like Peacemaker, Harley Quinn, the Batman, Shazam, like those are all more recent.
Yeah.
Like they're doing better. And that's why
Shazam is probably the oldest of the
oldest
best.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's when I felt like things shifted. Like I feel like Shazam was the shift. Because even Birds of Prey is a blast to me. So like I really want that to continue. What I'm curious about is this restructuring. I don't necessarily want them to just try to be Marvel because it won't work.
Well, and that's what I meant by Marvel got it right, and then the floodgates opened.
And
by the floodgates, I don't
reboot.
mean just by Marvel. I mean like
every studio.
But it's not even
them saying Kevin Feige is the blueprint isn't healthy.
Sure, but it's not even like it's the big studios. It's also Netflix. It's also Amazon. Like, don't get me wrong. I really love The Boys. I really enjoyed the animated Invincible, and but with that said. And these are, by the way, these are all properties that should have adaptations.
Sure.
So this is not me saying they shouldn't have been made, but just think about it. If we were to sit here right now and list things, we would not have enough time in the remainder of this episode. Why the Last Man?
Yeah.
3 versions of Sandman right now. Paper Girls. An animated and a live action Invincible.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Tooth on Netflix has done a bunch of them.
The 9
Sweet
CW
Tooth.
shows.
The entire CW universe, which I give them credit for being originals.
They were earlier.
They were originals. That to me was like they cracked the code TV wise. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's still on.
Sure. Yeah. What was the other
Miller World at Netflix?
Is that with oh my God, I forget the name of that company.
Jupiter.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's a whole world they're building.
Yep, exactly.
And they got Sweet Tooth. I don't know if you said.
Yep. Yeah. So like again, like there's so. These are all properties that like, let's fucking do this. I'm all game for it all. The problem is that it's happening all at once.
I still haven't watched Sweet Tooth. And that's saying something.
We were literally, this is not the Patreon only pod where we talk about shit we watch, but Alexandra and I just finished a show that we've been watching and we're like, all right, well, what's next for like a thing? And I throw all of these out there that we haven't seen.
I haven't finished Afterlife season 3 and they're half an hour. Right. Yeah, like I haven't had time for the non.
So everything is happening so abruptly and all at once in a way that
everything
everywhere all at once. That I do feel like I'm worried that we are at the precipice of falling back into 90s Sony Marvel or comic book movies.
Sure.
Like we are this close from Halle Berry Catwoman again.
I hear your fear.
Now, we have gotten better at making things.
Right. So that level won't happen.
So, but here's the thing is because we got better at making things, the failures are that much more prevalent, which is why I'm so hard against certain DC movies where I'm like, it would have been, I would have loved this 20 years ago, but the bar has been raised. And like, because of
I don't give shows as long of a chance because I can't.
No, you don't. Yeah.
I can only watch.
You never finished Hit Monkey. We didn't talk about Hulu's, the animated Marvel. We've got Hulu. We got MODOK, which was supposed to be a whole other series.
And I never had time to finish Hit Monkey. That's a great point because I enjoyed Hit Monkey.
You never got to episode 8, did you?
I need to finish it all.
Shit. Hit Monkey episode 8 is so good.
But that's saying exactly what we're saying. Like I love Hit Monkey and haven't had time. Like the fact that I had to schedule out This Is Us, which is one of my favorite dramas. Like it's hard. Yeah. So it's crazy out there.
I'm worried that the scales are tipping. And I think that this, if anything, with the exception of Marvel and the Disney side of Marvel that sees this money machine, because at this point I feel like they're just making money hand over fist.
Cartoonish.
Even when things aren't good, they're still making bank.
Yeah.
So that's going to take a few years to bust. But with the exception of them, other companies are going to look at this Discovery situation and go, yeah, you know what?
Pump the brakes.
3 more seasons of Below Deck.
That's what scares me.
Is going to be way cheaper than 2 more seasons of
Peacemaker.
Or I was going to come up with one of the many other animated. I was trying to come up with another comic. I just found out that Taika and Jermaine are working on the French comic that's really good. Oh shit! Now I have to look it up because I'm going to sound like an idiot. But anyways, you can continue, and I'm just going to interrupt you when you.
Okay. My big concern is that the people are going to learn the wrong lessons, and this accelerates that 5-year fallout into reality TV being bigger because it is cheaper and it is content. In my opinion, I think reality TV is content, so it's easier to churn out. People throw it on, people get distracted by it, but it's not art to me, in my opinion. And like it is content versus art is a very big distinction, and I'm worried.
Right.
Is it Mahdi?
No, I never knew how to pronounce it. I had the book digitally. I never knew how to pronounce it. If it's the Inkal or the Insal, Incal.
I actually don't know this book.
Oh, it's a good book. I think you would really dig it. I had it digitally. I want to say like 2014, 15, 16, somewhere in there. Real good book. It's about like a typical like private investigator, tough guy who shit's not. It's very Blade Runner-y.
Yeah.
It's like tough guy who has an idea and things aren't what he seems, and it's and apparently it's yet another like IP that's going to be adapted. But anyways, we digress.
Well, speaking of things being adapted, Madam Web over at Sony. We've done DC, we've done Marvel. Going over to Sony real quick. New leaked set photos, which I usually don't comment on, but I'm bringing it up for the context of this conversation. Reveal that the Daily Bugle logo, including a headline perhaps about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, were seen, and now Adam Scott is in it, and people are thinking he might be the adult Peter Parker of that universe, because Adam Scott totally looks like Peter Parker. And so the theory is that it all ties into a greater Spider-Verse, which would be a great way to save face and save that Sony universe. Now, I think hopefully they learned from Morbius with not planning things that don't pay off, because they took things out of the trailer like that weren't in the movie and stuff. I think they've learned that lesson when the Morbius re-release didn't go as well as they wanted. I think that might have helped us with this meme culture.
Again, I feel like people didn't understand it. He had a sort of bat radar.
Oh yeah, bat radar really did. So
I feel like people didn't get that.
They didn't get it.
If people had understood that,
I think they need to release it one more
he
time.
had a bat radar.
Put it out one more time, people might get it. Re-release it.
Bat radar. They should have renamed it. Bat radar : Edge of Tomorrow : Morbius.
Live, die, repeat.
Yes.
Because that's what vampires do. He's the living vampire.
Right.
So I think that hopefully one of the positives of the re-release not going as well is now these Easter eggs will lead to a thing. Like now I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful for Sony. And I know people get mad at me and like, guys, the thing I did with Morbius was months ago. I have no reason to say a nice thing right now. And I'm going to say a nice thing right now. Sony is so invested in the fan experience. It is so incredible how much they care about how fans experience movies.
Right.
Like to the point where we curate trailers. They are invested in an audience in a room experiencing how a Q&A is going. Like I love that Sony is
all right.
Wants the fan experience.
I'll play corporate devil advocate.
Okay.
Or the opposite. You're the corporate devil advocate in this sense. Are they actually invested in that, or are they invested in the hype that those events build on the internet?
I've worked with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I've never had a studio be more specific about the highs and lows of the laughs, of the cheers,
people
of the vibe in the room.
Right.
And they were originally not even going to put that footage out. I put it out.
Okay.
So like they had no reason for that room. Okay. And I want to give Sony that credit. Like, because that's a really unique thing for a major conglomerate to care about.
No, absolutely.
So I'm hoping that post Morbius, post Venom, this is them investing because they also see this discovery thing. Sony's not dumb. They've been around forever for a reason. I think they see that things can go bad quickly. I hope that Madam Web is a shift, but that's my optimism.
Well, maybe if they sent both of us PS5s, I'd be more inclined to talk about how great they are.
I would love to play Miles Morales on PS5, newly remastered. I want to play it. That being said, going over to Tom Cruise.
I thought we were going to talk about Top Gun.
No, we got another Tom Cruise update.
We should have organized this better.
I mean, I used it in context, which is not easy to do. It had gone Top Gun Tom Cruise, but here we are at the end. Tom Cruise is doing a song and dance musical with Christopher McQuarrie. And I'm very...
Who is that?
Christopher McQuarrie, who did Mission Impossible, all the new ones.
Oh, he's a writer-director.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the new guy since 5 or whatever. Like the guy that's been like spearheading the Mission Impossible movie.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about a song and dance because I love Rock of Ages. I'm the one guy that loves Rock of Ages. So I want a singing, dancing Tom Cruise. This is just a weird enough news story to include it because like, why not? Like, give me this.
You know what? He already did.
Yep.
A song and dance number. It was called Rock of Ages.
Which I love.
And also a little bit of Risky Business.
He gives love a bad name.
Also, Cocktail.
True,
little song
dancing,
and dance.
Little dancing.
Listen.
He's got precedent.
He can do everything except take down Scientology.
You know, we're going to figure that out one day when they make After Earth 2. which, we'll figure out. Okay, lovelies, I got some comic recommendations for you. As you know, I have been very behind. I'm not even kidding when I say I'm about to give you my last week of June and first week of July recs now that we're in mid-August. I've literally never been so busy, which has been any of you that are patrons of mine, separate of the Patron Only podcast. As you know, there are two. There's a Patron Only pod, and then there's the Koi Pond pod. I've been so behind. I'm a month and a half behind on my Patreon, and I think I'm going to pause it and catch up and then figure it all out because frankly, it's not fair to you guys. And in the meantime, I've been so behind on comic books, which are the basis of my career, that I'm going back to June to give you my recommendations. Good God, do I need a day off? June 29th, my favorite books from that week were Batman Catwoman number 12, Batman Beyond the White Knight number 4, Berserker number 9. You guys know how much I love that book, and now I get to talk about it with the team, which is so dope. Captain America Symbol of Truth number 2, Department of Truth number 19, Pearl 3 number 2. Now that's confusing in the title, but it is the third volume of Pearl, issue 2 of that third volume. But what's confusing is Pearl came out as a trade paperback and individual issues. The first trade of Pearl was 12 issues. They decided retroactively that it was 2 6-issue volumes, but they never labeled it volume 1 and 2. So I was very confused, and I do comics for a living when I was like, man, Pearl's one of my favorite books. Wait, there was no Pearl 2. Oh, you mean Pearl 1 is now Pearl 1 and 2, and this is Pearl 3? Yes. So issue 2 is actually issue 14, which is volume 3. Very confusing. Read Pearl. Just follow a map. Public Domain number 1, great debut from Chip Zdarsky. This was a digital-only book that did so well, they actually started printing it. That does not happen often. When it does, it's for a good reason. This book is dope. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance number 9, one of the most brutal books on the shelves. Loving it, and I usually am not one for wanton ultra-violence. She-Hulk number 4, damn good time. Good prep for the show. Variants number 1, Gail Simone writing Jessica Jones. Always going to make me happy. X-Force 29 and X-Men Red number 4, closing out June. Into July, now that we're into deep August. My favorite books for the first week of July were Amazing Spider-Man number 5, my most improved book of the year. I did not like Amazing Spider-Man number 1 and 2. I thought they made Peter Parker a bully. He was mean to Aunt May. That never Peter Parker doesn't mean to Aunt May. Even when he feels bad about being dismissive of Aunt May. It's
angsty.
Yeah.
He's only teen angst against
He's not mean to This is adult Peter Parker being mean. No, that's not correct. That is not the character. They managed to turn that boat around by the end, and there's some redemption. I'm hoping they learn from a lot of people like me yelling. That's not what you do. But most improved, I really enjoyed issue 5, and I love the art from John Romita Jr. It is such good art. Batman number 125. There's a new arc. It might as well be in issue number 1. You can jump on Batman with 125. It's a brand new arc. Batman Killing Time number 5. Captain America Sentinel of Liberty number 2. Closet number 2. This is a 2 of 3 issue miniseries. It's only 3 issues and it's terrifying. Firepower 22, Poison Ivy 2, Saga number 60. You don't even need to know. Just read Saga. Strange Academy number 18 and Suicide Squad Blaze number 3 are my favorite books from that week, and that is going to do it for my catch up.
I only got one more issue of Saga before they put it in a trade, I hope.
I think you're right.
Because we're in 5. Because 55, so 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, 60. This should be it.
That should be the trade.
The question is when do they make
2
that?
months, I think, usually. So you got about 2 months.
Listen.
And then we'll talk about Saga.
Listen, Image.
Get after it for people like Jake.
Yeah, it's Image. Okay. Yeah. I immediately second guessed myself.
Image?
Get after it, Image, and I will buy the shit out of that trade.
Because I'm excited to talk about.
But make it all nice and uniform like all the other
please.
ones.
Image.
Don't do any of this weird we were off for a long time and now the trades are going to have a different spine on them or the Image logo is going to be in a different spot. Don't do that to me.
All of the Fast and Furious films are silver steelbook, and then Fast 9 is a white steelbook.
What did they do?
It's
awful.
Maddening.
I posted a video in the Discord that was so satisfying. In fact, if you'll see right there the one trade that's on so I have the hardcover Ultimate X-Men's from 2 to 9, and then I had the soft trade volume 1.
Yep.
And eventually I just got so irritated that I went online. I found a used one for $4.
Worth it for the OCD.
And I posted a video of me taking that. It was just a hand, just taking that off of the shelf,
good.
and then just sliding in the hardcover. And
I love that.
the most like emotionally satisfying.
It's a visual ASMR.
Oh
It's just
God,
right.
because
I
it was
love that.
also because that's the first book. So the second one, they like lean on it in a weird way,
And then it's just like it jumps up and then
I mean, don't get me wrong. I suppose I would rather it be the first book than the third one.
Yeah, that'd look way worse.
But it was
Still,
still
it's
very
clean now.
frustrating.
Well, I'm glad your flaccid
Also now,
volume 1 is tucked over there.
now I have an extra. If you'd like that, you can have it. I don't know if you need a hard copy.
I've got the same
Okay.
exact one.
Yeah. See if anybody would
I
like.
also have them all as floppies, and I have that one as a hard, because that's how I discovered that book, was in that trade.
Got
and
it.
then I went back and
Same.
bought issue 1 through 6.
Yeah. Same. I think I got on a.
Do you know my
whim.
Ultimate Spider-Man story?
You
So
might have said it.
There was a
but yeah,
cartoon
You could say it again.
about Ultimate Spider-Man around the same time.
Okay.
And I'm usually very good about comic books.
Right.
Spoiler alert, it's my job. I was collecting Ultimate Spider-Man, and I don't buy the ones that are adaptations of the cartoon, because that's
Right.
like, I
Yeah.
watch the cartoon or
Of
not.
course.
So they made an Ultimate Spider-Man comic book a month and a half before Ultimate Spider-Man started.
And you just
so I
thought that
dismissed the
you
whole
thought it was a
thing.
cartoon book.
So within 7 issues, Ultimate Spider-Man #1 was like $50.
And you were like, what, 13, 12, 15?
That came out in
How
2000, I
old?
was 12.
You're 12. So,
So-
also, like, that's a specific age to be
To
like.
be like, I'm
Cartoon,
ignorant,
yeah,
but I was
yeah.
still pursuing.
Yeah.
So I literally didn't buy it. I was buying everything. I was buying Sensational, Web of, Untold, and I'd literally see it in my checklist to buying, because I was a subscription. I literally had it
Oh,
mailed to my house.
got it.
And I was like, save $2.
Right, I'm
not
not gonna-
buying that book. And I was so like braggadocious about it. And I remembered issue 7 of the one came out, and I
Right.
was like, wait, issue 1's a new title. Wait, it's Mark Bagley, my favorite artist. Wait,
Yeah.
and I had this whole thing, and then by then it was sold out, and it was issue 50. I didn't get issue #1 of Ultimate Spider-Man until 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I literally hunted for it for 10 years. But it was 3 years
As
ago.
the floppy, you mean?
As a floppy
Yeah,
of
yeah.
a first edition, first printing.
Right.
But what's cool is I got it 3 years ago, and I'd hunted it because I wanted good quality.
Sure.
I had all the rest. It took me 2.5 years to get issue 4. It was a hunt for all 6. I started with issue 7, but getting 1 through 6 took me years. Took me literally a decade to get issue 1. But within 6 months of having issue 1, because I got it so late, it wasn't with the rest of my Ultimate Spider-Man back east. All my comic books are back home.
Okay.
It was the last one I needed on this coast. Within 6 months of you finally getting it after 10 years, Brian Michael Bendis came onto my show.
You did tell me this story.
And then I was able to get it signed.
And it was only because you
I just happened to have just gotten it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I literally happened to have just gotten
Okay.
it.
It wasn't until you got to the end that I realized, oh, wait a minute, I do remember
You knew
this.
where the
I do
story
remember
ends.
this. Yeah,
but
yeah.
fate gave me the gift
That's
of like, we're
fantastic.
going to reward you. Signed by Brian Michael Bendis.
You know, I don't think that I have ever handed a comic to an artist to sign.
I think that was one of my first times. I've never done it at cons.
I have signed books that people have gifted me.
Sure.
And I also have, Rick Parker, Beavis and Butthead.
Respect.
That
There's your one.
is the only time, and also my next door neighbor growing up, he was like an older brother to me. I didn't have any money. I was as a kid. This was at New York Comic Con. It was like the first time, and he paid to have Rick Parker, also do a drawing on the board behind the book.
Yeah.
And because it's Beavis and Butthead, it's not like getting somebody to do like a big sketch of a character. It took him all of 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And so it's Beavis, and he's just saying, haha, Jake is cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
But so that's the only book ever that I handed a book to.
That's a special book.
Because I feel like when I started going to cons, I was like an adult, and I guess I was sort of like, I'm not waiting in line. And this is no disrespect to people who do this.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I never had a lot of money. And so while I always felt bad because I always
build the habit.
I wanted to like be like, hey, would you sign this? And I could pay you to sign it because like I love you. But like I was generally only ever going to a con for a day, and the idea of standing in line all day to meet somebody didn't feel like a benefit to me. I would stand at the front of the line and watch them interact with people and be like, oh wow, I sat there and I watched. I remember the first
cool
time
to see the sketches.
Your new best friend Jim Lee. I remember the first time I ever saw Jim Lee in person. It was like I just fucking sat there and I was just like I was such a fanboy who like I was just watching him interact with people and sign books and every now and then make a little drawing. But here's a guy who I just watched. I watched the like How to Draw the Marvel Way with Jim Lee
and you're watching it happen in real
Stan
life.
Lee. I watched that VHS tape maybe 800 times as a kid.
Yeah.
And so to me, I was just like awestruck, but I didn't get in line. I didn't bring X-Men 1. I didn't do like any of the things. I didn't bring the Batman cover that he did that I love. Like I didn't do nothing.
Dude, it is surreal where life takes you, because like that,
weird.
like we watch those videos and then you're around them, and it's just as surreal. Like so, Jim Lee and Johnny Jr. I had never met until this con, and they both follow me on socials now. And so I watch, you know how you can see who watches your stories?
I don't do stories, so I did not know that.
On Instagram. Oh, you don't do, oh, so
I've never done a story as far as I know.
On Instagram, there's a story setting where you can like post.
Explain it to me like I'm a boomer.
So there's a post on your wall, and then there's a 24-hour thing, and it goes away after 24 hours.
Right.
But you can see who watches your story effectively, but with data. So you can see who's watching, but Jim Lee and Ramita watch my stories.
Right.
So now I'm like self-conscious of like what I'm posting, because I'm like, my heroes are watching.
Right.
So it went from me being like you, watching them draw, to them watch me do what I do. Right. And I'm like, I can't post this because John might see it. And it's such a weird, like, life's weird, man.
Yeah. That's fun.
I don't want to say weird stuff around John Romita Jr.
I mean, listen, he'll respect your honesty.
I'm an open book.
Listen, John has his best days are behind him. Just like real harsh.
I loved the art, but not the work of Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, John. All right, that's going to do it, you lovelies. We're going to wrap it out there. We'll be back next week with a hot and hotline heavy week, and maybe some twists, maybe some surprises, maybe some other things coming at you. But as ever, please do rate and review at Apple Podcasts, those 5 stars. Keep us warm at night. We need all 4 to 5 of them to really heat us, because otherwise it gets very cold. We live in the desert. Koicast.com for merch. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks. Please do check out the Patreon. We talked about it earlier a little bit. Jake has very well organized over 112 episodes of the Patreon Only Pod, wherein we review all of the art we have consumed that week, not the content, the art, because we're not watching reality TV.
But you did it though. You said consumed, which is another word that I fight against.
But we can consume art.
No, you don't consume it. You would experience it. Consuming makes it feel like it's just a thing that you need to that you just eat and shit out.
I won't disagree with that, but I will say consuming art is better than saying, again, enjoying
better than content.
Enjoying content. I will between the two.
No.
I'm gonna fight my other habit, Jake. I can only fight one habit at a time. It's crack and cigarettes. I'm working on the crack. All right. Please do check out the Patreon for all of that art that we have enjoyed over time, and Jake has organized it very well. We literally talk about movies, TV, sometimes plays. It's rad. I'm actually seeing a play this week, so next time we record, I'm gonna go see Prom at the Amundsen Theater.
The Netflix movie
turned into a Broadway show.
That's where it should have started.
It should have. I've never seen things go that way.
Did you see the movie?
Nope.
Oh,
but I'm gonna go see the Broadway show.
The movie's a lot. The movie, you know what? I watched it. It's on the Patreon Only Pod. Yeah, I was gonna tell you my thoughts on the movie, but now
save it. We'll have a prom off.
No. I was gonna say is now it's just you have to go and
search it.
And yeah, exactly.
Also, you can tell me when we talk about it in 2 weeks about my prom experience. We'll go to prom. Right. Please check us out on social media. Use hashtag Koicast to get our attention. I'm at Coy Jondro. He's at Jake Lloyd Bacon.
By the way, we always say that. Use Koicast to get our attention. You can also just tag us.
Oh, yeah.
Use Koicast to spread the word. I just sometimes
click on Koicast and see.
Same.
Yeah.
But if you are talking about Koicast, it doesn't hurt to tag
us too, and I'll retweet. I want the people to hear, especially the shirts. It's great to see those shirts in the wild. 818-794-0722 is how to reach us here and be a co-host effectively, leaving your hotline calls, 818-794-0722, or you can send a voice memo to contact@koicast.com. You've been lovely. I've been Coy. He's been Jake. We will see you next week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you, as always, to comic books and art for existing.
Hey everyone, Jake Lloyd Bacon here.
Along with Paul Bianchi.
And Alexandra Hoy.
Hey, we all host different shows on Dragon Wagon Radio.
We do, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Not at all. We are here to talk about Dungeons and Dragon Wagon,
a narrative podcast series in which we venture into a mythical land for a D&D inspired role-playing game.
Alexandra and I are joined by Matt Hinksman and a very special guest of quest for each chapter of an epic saga in which we must take on the roles of half-orcs, dark elves, and more as we fight our way through a fantastical land of peril, drama, and often hilarity.
All of which is controlled by me, the Dungeon Master, and the player's chance rolls of the die.
And our show is for everyone. Even if you know nothing about D&D or role-playing games, we've got you covered.
That's right. Our game sessions are highly edited, easy to follow, sound designed from top to bottom, and completely immersive.
Yeah, our episodes sound more like a well-produced radio drama than an RPG show.
So what are you waiting for? Join the adventure on Dungeons and Dragon Wagon at dndwpod.com or wherever you find great podcasts.
It's Dragon Wagon.